We are here with J.J. Fenceroy, running for District 1, Arlington City Council. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. So, how long have you lived in Arlington?
So I've been here now for about 4 years.
Okay.
The first time I came to Arlington was actually about almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
I had some family that lived here, and I stayed with them for a while my cousin was going to UTA.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I was moved. I had just joined the Air Force at that time,
Okay.
so they moved me to San Angelo,
Wow.
which is where I switched my residency to Texas, and
Right.
remained a Texas resident for my entire Air Force career
Very
until
nice.
I retired, went to Florida,
Mm-hmm.
got my MBA, and as soon as that was done, I came right back here to Texas, to Arlington.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Great. So what do you love most about our city?
So, Arlington, when I first moved here, I knew about the things that everybody knows, which was like Cowboy Stadium,
Mm-hmm.
the Texas Rangers, Six Flags.
Yeah, Wet and Wild, all that fun
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
all of those things. But living here, I mean, what I really love about it is the artistic diversity
Yeah.
that you see here. And there are so many incredible places here, like places you guys are familiar with, like Truth Vinyl,
Mm-hmm.
like Theater Arlington, Legal Draft and Division Brewing,
Yep.
which
Yeah.
have some
Of course.
awesome things. And then some of the events here, the local events like the Main Street Arts Festival
Right.
and Junk Fest. Those are all things where we have just an incredible number of talented artists in the city.
Mhm.
And for them to have these venues to kind of showcase and share their talents with the rest of the community, I think it's something that is really special here and something to be proud of.
Right, I think so too.
So what made you decide to run for the city council?
Yeah, I feel like the people of Arlington deserve to have city council representatives that are willing to listen to and serve all of them, and not just a small, wealthy establishment that's been pretty much pushing the agenda in Arlington for years now. So kind of backing up a little bit, our elections were originally supposed to be in May,
Yeah.
which is normally when our city council elections are. In the May elections, we generally have well under 10% of the
Yeah.
of the registered voters come out to vote. So that wealthy establishment group that is made up of former city council members and other businessmen who have connections with the people on the city council, they've had an outsized influence in dictating not only who's going to be on the ballot, but helping push them through to get on city council. And as a result, they've had an outsized influence on the issues that come before the city council. I think that's led to some really bad policies, including things like the Proposition A, which is on the ballot right now, which would be a sales tax increase on the residents of Arlington in order to provide subsidies to big businesses here in Arlington. I'm opposed to the idea that was also pushed by the establishment to create a term limits advisory council
Right.
that would essentially come up with recommendations to change the term limits that the citizens of Arlington just voted on less than 2 years ago, and nearly 2-1 they voted in favor of that specific policy that was 3 2-year term limits.
Right.
I'm not looking to run and sit on city council for 10, 15, or 20 years. I think each of us should look to serve the public for 2, 4, 6 years and start grooming a younger generation to come in behind us and take Arlington into the future.
Right. So what can your constituents expect from you if you do win?
From me, they can expect a public servant. I've been in public service for most of my adult life, and I will be there to serve them, not to try to control them, not to try to serve any, establishment or corporate interests. And they can also expect from me someone who is going to push back against overreaching regulations that are put forward before the council. Things that have nothing to do with... So I see the role of city government as being to provide necessary services and to safeguard the health, safety, and well-being of our residents. And beyond that, you start getting into areas where the city starts stepping on people's personal rights, their property rights, and getting in the way of small businesses that are trying to innovate, create jobs, and strengthen the economy. So for me, they will see somebody who will push back whenever we have these types of overreaching or discriminatory policies, such as the one that's currently, it was just in the news last week, that the Department of Housing and Urban Development is suing the city of Arlington over a housing policy that favors senior housing over housing for lower income families and children, which granted, yes, we do need to make sure that we have housing for seniors, but kids and families also need places to live, and we need to be taking care of them too.
Exactly.
So I will be the first one to push back against that, while my opponent, she is pretty much consistently been on the side of each of those policies every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Great. What do you find to be the biggest issue facing the citizens of Arlington today?
Yeah, this is a unique time, and I would say at this moment, the most pressing issue that we have going on, and it's visible everywhere you go, is COVID-19, because it's presenting a health crisis, it's presenting an economic crisis, and right now it's presenting an education crisis for our kids as we're trying to get them educated. While I was in the Air Force, I served for a few years as the Chief of Inspections and Exercises at the largest Air Force combat wing overseas. In that position, I planned and executed over a dozen emergency management exercises. I know all about planning and executing plans for emergency management. And what is lacking right now in Arlington is a proactive plan to deal with COVID. My idea for a proactive plan here in Arlington would be to have targeted testing with quick turnaround results instead of waiting 7 to 10 days where people are walking around perhaps asymptomatic and continuing to spread. We're getting results quickly, and consistent contact tracing. This voluntary, I think most people will do the right thing. They want to protect other people, and they will let people know, hey, this is where I think I got COVID. These are the people that were around me. And we can spread the word to them so that they can self-isolate until they can get tested, and hopefully quick turnaround testing so they're not isolating for 2 weeks at a time, as long as they get a negative result. By doing things like that, we can target our response and not have to shut down big segments of the economy, but rather focus on the hotspots as we identify those areas where we actually have flare-ups of COVID. I think that will go a long way towards building confidence and not only save lives, but save livelihoods and get our kids back to school.
Yeah, which all three are very, very important things. So thinking about 10 years from now, what does Arlington look like to you in 10 years? What's going on?
Yeah, well, in 10 years, what I would like to see here in Arlington is that we have stepped up to meet our housing needs by having a proactive plan, looking at how our population is changing. Our population has been growing tremendously, and we've had shifting demographics here for a while. And we need to stay ahead of that because the building takes a while. And if we're not ahead of it, we get behind, and suddenly you have critical housing shortages in certain areas. So that's one area that I think I'd really like to see us meet that challenge. Another one is our small business community. I would hope that 10 years from now that we've been able to go back and look at some of our policies with respect to business, remove some of the restrictions that have nothing to do with health, safety, and welfare of the people, and pull those back to give our small businesses the freedom to innovate, to create jobs, and to strengthen the economy. And I think lastly, and probably most importantly, is that 10 years from now we have made significant progress on going back, looking at city policies that in the past have been discriminatory or have stepped on people's personal property rights or just held back businesses, and that have created systemic problems of inequality, particularly in the areas of housing, in education, and criminal justice. So that's where I'd like to see us in 10 years.
So we have a segment on the show called Terminal Toppings. I know you've been on the show.
Yes. We've talked about before.
What is your favorite pizza place in Arlington?
Yeah, so I think my answer is still pretty much the same as last time.
Okay.
And I realize it is a chain, but I still like Mellow Mushroom, and I'd have to say I'm a big fan of the Mighty Meaty.
Okay, yeah.
They're a meat lovers pizza. But also, if you're not doing pizza there, they also have a really awesome meatball trio.
Oh, yeah, that thing's really good. Yeah, I've had that before.
Meatball trio.
Yeah.
All right. So if people want to support, follow you, donate to your website, where can people do that?
Yeah, my website is at jjforarlington.com. I'm also on Facebook and on Twitter. You can look me up there under JJ for Arlington or JJ Fenceroy, Fenceroy. And on there, they can find my contact information, get in touch with me. I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. But anyone who wants to support the campaign would definitely appreciate it. We're down to the last couple of weeks here.
Mm-hmm.
Not being the incumbent candidate, I'm having to work a lot harder to get the name recognition and to get the support. But
Of course.
we're having an incredible response at the polls. And I just came from working there now and talking to so many people who are like, oh, you're JJ. It's awesome to see. And actually, while we're here, I'd like to point out to a lot of people who may not know this, as they're doing research on their ballots, I've met a lot of voters who all they want to know is, are you a Democrat or Republican? They just plan on looking for all the D's or all the R's and checking all the boxes. For our municipal elections here in Arlington, they're nonpartisan, so you're not going to see a D or an R after our names. You'll have to look all the way to the bottom of the ballot, and you'll see, for the people living in District 1, you'll see City Council District 1, JJ Fenceroy. I am the only JJ on the ballot.
There you go.
You won't see a D and an R, but you will see a J and a J. So please vote for JJ.
There you go.
Great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming out and taking this time. It's good to see you again a year later. You were one of our very first guests.
Yeah.
So it's great to have you back and see you in this capacity, and we wish you the best.
Thanks a lot. And I appreciate what you guys are doing here. This is awesome that your podcast has grown the way it has, and I'm glad to see that.
We're pretty glad about it, too.
Yeah, we're happy about it. We love it.
Awesome.
Thank you.